There's a certain paradox in digital innovation, an endless drive towards connecting the world while clutching at the last threads of privacy. This is particularly true in the realm of Web3, where innovation thrives, and yet vulnerability lurks at every turn. Each transaction, time-stamped and etched into the transparency of public blockchains, leaves a trail that is both a mark of progress and a perilous crack in the armor of privacy. Recent headlines reveal the extent of these fractures. Think of the staggering $1.5 billion siphoned away by North Korean hackers, or the crippling aftermath of 16 billion credentials exposed in a breach, scattering personal data across an already fragmented digital landscape. And these events aren't anomalies. They're signposts, stark reminders of the critical vulnerabilities plaguing the intersection of online commerce and personal identity. Public blockchains are celebrated for their openness, their promise to decentralize trust. But that visibility is a double-edged sword. Wallet addresses transform into unguarded windows, and transaction histories act as diaries open for anybody to read. Even the smallest breadcrumb, a dusting of activity on an address, can lead bad actors down a trail that ends in tragedy. The very ledger that empowers us to interact without intermediaries also lays bare our digital selves, exposing the silent truth that on-chain transparency often comes at the price of privacy. These challenges strike at the heart of what it means to operate in a connected world. How do we reconcile the utopia of a decentralized future with the risks of unguarded exposure? For innovators like Georgi Koreli, the answer lies not in compromise, but in reimagining the architecture altogether. Hinkal Wallet strives to make privacy the default, not a privilege, but a right. A multi-chain privacy layer where transactions become whispers in the wind. A world where, as he puts it, they can't hack you if they can't see you. With privacy becoming an urgent question rather than an afterthought, we stand at a crossroads. A moment to decide if our trust in Web3 can grow stronger through solutions that protect rather than expose. Joining us today, Georgi Koreli invites us to reconsider the balance between innovation and intrusion, security and freedom. We peel back the layers of this challenge, uncovering not only the technical feats required to ensure privacy, but also the philosophical depths of why it even matters. Because in this era of omnipresent surveillance, the act of safeguarding one's digital self is no longer just a security measure. It's an assertion of freedom, an act of defiance. Welcome to the Defiant Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Defiant Podcast. I'm your host, Vinny, and I'm here with Georgi Koreli, who is the co-founder and CEO of Hinkal Wallet, a Web3 privacy solution looking to build a multi-chain privacy layer for blockchain technology. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's jump right in. Can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to focus on privacy wallets and decentralized coordination within crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm originally from Georgia. I was born in Georgia. And I started my career as a professional wrestler. I was twice world champion in wrestling. Then I moved to investment banking, spent 5 years in TradFi. And then I moved to the US. I did my MBA and master's at Stanford. And at Stanford, we started with Web2 initially. And in 2021, actually what happened is it was a crypto boom. So 90% of crypto startups, 90% of regular startups became crypto startups. And because Stanford is also ZK Hub, as you know, Dan Bonnet is from Stanford, so a lot of cryptography is happening there. And it was a huge movement and also educational development of all sides of crypto, right? So people finally started understanding what is the end goal of crypto and how it can be more efficient than financial rails. And I already had 5 years of experience, so I knew that you need at least 11 intermediaries to move money from one country to another. And this can be done peer-to-peer with close to zero cost on public blockchains. So that was the vision. But then what I also realized that public ledgers and public blockchains have very strong network effects that is very hard to substitute, right? Ethereum is not the most ideal architecture type of system, but it's strong because it was one of the first, so it had first mover advantage, and it only accrued network efforts afterwards. So then I started being concerned if new public chains can have same traction as Ethereum, and like, will it be possible to substitute traditional financial rails with something like Ethereum and EVM ecosystem? So, and then with having this in mind, right, like when we think about traditional system, privacy is very fundamental value of the systems, right? You can move money from one banking account to another without revealing your data. And this is your trade data, like that you prefer to keep private all the time. Otherwise, you'll be compromised, you can be hacked. And there are many negative externalities that can happen with that. So Hinkal builds privacy on top of public chains that you never feel. So it's like embedded in your wallet stack. It can be embedded in your in your payment stack, and that's our goal: to fully abstract privacy on public chains.
And so you've mentioned the phrase "they can't hack you if they can't see you." Can you expand on how privacy wallets make this concept possible?
So, yeah, of course. I think the good example, pro forma example here is the Bybit hack. So they saw the signers with safe multisig. They can read the IP and metadata of the signers. So they were able, so not like North Korean hackers, right? They were able to compromise their machines and then hack, whatever, like 1.5 billion.
Right.
So they saw this data, and thus they were able to compromise whatever stack they had. But if they didn't see anything, it would happen. It wouldn't happen. So that's the ultimate goal, right? To have privacy, so you cannot see individual data of the wallets of the signers, and no one can actually hack you because there is no possibility to track it down to individual wallet level.
Yeah, I've always felt kind of weird about the fact that, you can look at someone's public address and know exactly how much ETH they have and what NFTs they have. Like, it's kind of a weird concept to have that much information out there and anybody could see it. And it's one thing if it's your friends, but it's quite another thing if someone sees there's a treasure trove, and they might direct that attack right at me. So Hinkal is described as an invisible wallet for every transaction. Can you tell us what makes the wallet invisible? How does it work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so initially, like before we actually started Hinkal, the first version of it was the DApp. And the problem with the DApp system is that you need to do extra steps to enable privacy. So in our case, it was, you had to deposit to our vault. So it worked similar to vault. You create additional address there. And then you have limited functionality to transact on dApps.
Right.
And you could do like Uniswap. We embedded Uniswap, Odos. And the problem we started seeing is, okay, who are the ultimate customers of privacy? First is liquid funds. Second is payment networks, right? For liquid funds, you want to hide your strategy. For payment networks, you want to hide sender of transaction most of the times. Mm-hmm. Also recipients, mostly for payrolls and B2B payments, right? And for this, it was like sub-efficient system because it was not embedded in your day-to-day activities. You had to do extra steps. So then we thought, okay, we already built this. We had 250 million volume in the system, right? Mostly coming from liquid funds. So we thought, okay, how can we make it more scalable so we can actually abstract this need to move your money to another dApp, and also abstract the need to manually integrate those dApps that, for example, liquid funds need, because payments also go after DeFi, if we think about it, right? Because DeFi enables additional yield for the embedded stablecoin system. So that's why what we thought, okay, like what are the technologies that develop now that will enable this transition? And then what we saw that actually TEs became more secure. So for example, this could solve the problem of proving. So DK proof generation, because otherwise it was clunky and it was taking anywhere from 20 to 50 seconds to prove on client-side machines. So now, okay, we realize that TEs became secure. We can actually delegate proof generation to trusted execution environments, and then it can be instant, right? Okay, this problem was solved. And then we used a couple more primitives that we saw like more in the boom of AI, right? We used AI to understand if the dApp needs permits. So AI can actually tell the smart contract, right, if this dApp needs permits, and then it can actually route to the right smart contract inside the dApp. So, second is AI, and the third is stealth addresses, right? Stealth addresses serve for privacy of recipient, and then you can basically create new stealth address every time. So this way we abstracted all privacy and embedded it in the wallet stack. And I think the last point here that we should definitely touch base is compliance. So compliance that we were using before was still a bit clunky because users needed to provide KYC data, even though it was private.
Right.
But then we saw now the abundance of ZK-TLS solutions. And ZK-TLS is a phenomenal solution. You can take any data from any arbitrary session with your internal system, whether it's banking app or centralized exchange, generate proof of this data, and then prove to us that you did KYC somewhere in internet sometime before. And of course, everyone did it before.
Right. Are you on the internet?
So, and that's why now we don't need KYC data, so user can go to whatever account he has, right? If it's like Revolut in Europe or US, it can be Venmo. And now we use also centralized exchanges. Generate proof of this data without revealing any data to us.
Right.
And tell us, okay, we did this somewhere on the internet. Please enable privacy for all our transactions.
Okay, yeah. So with ZK, this seems like a perfect combination to really protect ourselves when we're on the internet. I'd love to talk a little bit about some of the legacy solutions that I'm seeing, some companies and even some governments wanting to implement with crypto. One of them is the kill switch, and the other is the air gap system. Why do you think that these, maybe are not the best solutions for us to utilize in Web3?
I think they are good solutions, but they are not the most optimal ones, because kill switch air gap solutions mean that they're mostly optimal for Web2 systems, right? You isolate the perimeter of the system, right? And that's how centralized systems work, right? Because you have a server, everyone runs on it, and it's fully separate from another one, right? And, that's why those systems, Web2 systems, are not composable with each other, right? Because they are built in with different stack, with completely independent parties.
Right.
And in crypto, you need smart contracts, and they're all composable, right? They compose with each other. So if you have kill switch for, let's say, smart contract that routes some DeFi tokens like PT tokens for Pendle, right? So there is no kill switch there, because if there's kill switch for Pendle, then the whole yield will be gone and the whole system will die.
Right.
But I think kill switch can be a really good solution for something like signatures, right? For example, when you connect to dApp, you give the dApp certain permissions. So if the dApp is compromised, then it can drain some money. So kill switch can enable, some systems to be more efficient on a wallet level, because you can just close down every parameter, every signature, or for multi-sigs, if you give certain permissions to people, right? You like kill switch, and this person is compromised, right? And there are some triggers for that. Like kill switch can enable this level of security there as well. So I don't think they are completely redundant systems, but they are not super optimal for composable on-chain systems.
The PR Genius is a top crypto PR and growth marketing agency, helping brands globally with expert PR and strategic growth marketing. They've worked with 300 plus projects like Movement Labs and IO.net. Unlike traditional agencies, they charge only on performance. Their services include earned PR opportunities and marketing services to help boost wallet holders and organic X followers. Learn more at www.theprgenius.com.
And I know the EU last year had some meaningful regulation about crypto. They have the Data Act where they wanted crypto companies to have a kill switch embedded into their privacy outline. Do you think that's something that would be beneficial, like on a regulation level, or is that something that you think might give governments a little bit too much power within the Web3 ecosystem?
Yeah, I think now what we see with European regulations is there are two directions. So first is like fully compliant direction that is mostly focused on payments, right?
Right.
And we see like big companies like BVNK, for example, is getting licenses, right? And it's European company. But the other direction is like founders figuring out how to become more decentralized from this regulation. And that's probably the most powerful, the strongest direction in Europe now, because they figure out, okay, how to make sure we're decentralized enough, like what's legal entities. And we saw recently with Morpho, right, when they created this separate entity like benefited token holders and just became more decentralized. So
Right.
I am propagating for more decentralized solutions. And with Kill Switch, I think for payments, this is decent solution, but the payments fundamentally now are centralized. So if you think about major on-ramp and liquidity layers, what they do is for privacy, they aggregate all money on one omnibus account. And then they send from these omnibus accounts to like individual EOAs. And that's a problematic thing because you have security of all your asset holders on one account that you control, maybe with multi-sig. And that's a big trust assumption that
Yeah, I'm feeling nervous just talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's a next big vector of attack for the hackers, right? If you think about, okay, centralized exchanges hold a lot of money, right? And Bybit was hacked. And what is the next vector of attack, like for big like money pots? And it's payment systems that hold lots of assets on a custodial side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will think, okay, like this trust assumption should be eliminated. So we learn based on our mistakes, unfortunately.
Don't we all? Unfortunately. Can you tell us about the new privacy stack in crypto and how it aims to address privacy challenges within digital finance?
Yeah, I think there are a few ways to think about privacy stack. First is, privacy that we are designing, right? And it's a privacy stack that is enabled by a few technologies. It's zero knowledge proof for smart contract level privacy and proving that you're the owner of transaction. Then it's TEs, as we mentioned, stealth addresses for recipient privacy, right? And it's all based on EVM systems, right? And then there's a second stack, new private stack, which is like fully private chains. And this stack is still, it has to prove that there is a value there that can accrue because, the problem with this is, to move assets on chain, you need yield. For yield, you need performance of the chains and you need to be able to attract the builders. And then there's a problem of this yield, right? So you cannot move one side without the other, right? Because there's cold start problem all the time. That's why currently all these private chains don't have much traction, as well as fully private coins, right? As a payment system such as Zcash, right? They never achieved broader adoption as we saw with all other solutions of whatever 5-7 years ago.
Right. And do you think that private blockchains are going to be the future of enterprise adoption, or do you see public ledgers evolving to incorporate better privacy features?
Yeah, I don't think private blockchains will have significant outcomes in terms of adoption because they cannot be as performant. And why would you want private blockchain if you can have same privacy on public blockchains?
Right.
So that's the fundamental problem that they have to solve. But of course, there are there are actually like more compliant blockchains now that are coming up that I'm excited about. They don't have privacy on top of the chains, but we can enable privacy. It's mostly L2s, and I think the value is achieved through like bringing a lot of yield opportunities and stablecoin issuers, because stablecoin issuers can actually route their money to new yield solutions from tokenizing these off-chain yields, right? For example, you can tokenize reinsurance. It gives you from 8 to 15%.
Sounds
Private
good.
debt, 8 to 12. So
Yeah, I like the sound of that for sure. And so there's this constant balancing act between privacy and compliance, right? How do privacy-focused technologies like Hinkal ensure that they remain user-friendly while being mindful of regulations?
mhm. Yeah, we thought a lot about compliance, and it was always on top of our mind because when we started right after tornado cash sanctions, right? So
What a time.
the best time to, to start private solution. And then, like, we thought about this from multiple dimensions, right? The first dimension is, okay, this is like Ethereum type driven dimension, which is proof of innocence. And I will explain the TLDR of the system. You basically have few assets in the set, in the shielded pools inside smart contract, and then you have compliance like you're using TRM or other systems, right, to check compliance. And this money, basically stay there for a few days before someone can withdraw money from there and prove that they are part of this compliance subset that was checked by the systems, right? And we thought about this solution. We talked to our lawyers as well. And first, like the US lawyers at least think that it's not a fully compliant solution, right? Because money then, you still routed money. They can become dirty afterwards. Then you have to prove and remove yourself from subset. And then another thing we didn't like in this solution is that it's always capital inefficient in terms of, because your money is still there and you cannot do other transactions, right? And the whole DeFi crypto is evolving around capital efficiency. So and then we thought, okay, we will introduce a bit higher friction at the entry point, but then we will enable full composability and freedom of like for any action in afterwards. So that's what we introduced with our first solution. It was like you could do ZK based KYC. But then the problem was enterprises wanted to do it, of course, institutions, liquid funds, but retail people don't want to do it. So all our flows were mostly institutional or like large whales. But now, like with Tornado Cash latest updates, we were finally allowed to allow very small portion of deposits, like let's say under $1,000, to be completely permissionless. And then for everything above, ZKTLS came to place. So now it's a great solution because you don't have to provide any KYC data to us. You have full proof that there is no data that you're sharing with us, and you're verifying full compliance, right? That you did KYC with a proper institution. That's a beautiful solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn to some of the recent events in data privacy. You were mentioning one earlier. We have most recently 16 billion credentials leaked in a recent breach. Crypto users are understandably alarmed. So how should users of platforms like Coinbase or custodial wallets strengthen their on-chain security in light of such incidents that we've seen recently?
Yeah, I think what we have seen in a series of recent events is that smart contracts just became better systems than people. Because there were no hacks of smart. There was like move-based hack recently on Sui, but over the past 3 years, when we just joined crypto, we had hacks every day. I was reading like smart contract was hacked, not smart contract was hacked. Over the past 2 years, I think I saw only like maybe 2 or 3 hacks, right? So the systems became super efficient. And if you look at broadly in not just crypto space, but Web 2 space, you could see that there are no net new hacks. So it's all social engineering. And I had this conversation with CrowdStrike CTO, and he was like, there are just no new startups that could take new spaces in cybersecurity because no new vectors are emerged. So same applies to crypto, right? Why do we need to rely on humans if smart contracts became just better systems? That's why I think Coinbase is pushing Base now, and more decentralized systems. Same now we see with Bybit, right, with the launch of their DEX and the wallets that all exchanges are pushing. I think everyone finally realized that the DeFi and composable systems is the future, and that they cannot build all this in their centralized ecosystems without any composability with DeFi. And actually, I think recently Coinbase announced that they finally allow DeFi from their centralized exchange UI, so they added more for a few other dApps. So we see this happening, and I'm super excited about the future.
Yeah. Do you think there are any lessons that the DeFi industry can take away from the Coinbase breach specifically?
Yes, that you should not store the data. I think the problem was there was the data, and then these people, right, I think call center people or customer support, they had access to this data. And the summary here is there should be some guardrails between the accessibility, who can really access, and then some security. But Coinbase has so many security checks, right? When my investor wanted to move his money to provide TVO to our protocol, he couldn't do it because Coinbase required to have a call in a week from then. Then they only allowed 1/10 of withdrawal. So they already do this. So I think, again, right, these more decentralized solutions such as zk-TLS imply that almost no one has data, right? So just removing all access and letting users to provide as much data as they want, right, is the outcome here. Why do we need so many KYC solutions? Everyone has KYC, right? You go to the bank, you need KYC, centralized exchange KYC.
Yeah, and it's very weird to be buying your crypto on a place like Coinbase, and they won't give it to you until you show your driver's license, your ID. It's like, wait, this is so not crypto in how it feels, until you get it off of the exchange. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how we can not only better protect ourselves, but also make the whole journey feel very Web3 versus, sometimes it feels like we're teetering between Web2 and Web3 just to get to the use cases that we're talking about. So Tether's CEO recently criticized cloud-based storage following these leaks as well. Do you think fully decentralized or local storage solutions like PairPass offer a real solution? And what are the trade-offs?
Yeah, I think it's a decent solution for crypto market. And if you think about enterprises like Coinbase, they might use this solution and offer, but it can be offered as one of the alternatives, because having hardware-based solution implies that you're relying on this hardware, and
Right.
most of people are not the most efficient systems, right? Again,
there's a theme here.
and I never lost my phone actually, but everyone lost his or her phone at some point of the lifetime. So I think that's a problem. We cannot trust ourselves. So how can you trust your hardware that stores the keys? And then if you're not super tech savvy, you will never export these keys. Or you can write the seed phrase, then you place it into 10 different accounts in the banks. So it becomes super complicated.
Yes.
So I think we cannot avoid cloud-based systems. And I think the net benefit of cloud-based systems is still quite higher, right, than the damage that we received, because cloud enabled so many different things, right? The whole Google was enabled by cloud, right? So
What if sending crypto felt more human? Pulse just launched Red Packets, a new way to gift tokens with meaning. It's gasless, gamified, and claimable inside group chats only. Think airdrops meet social cues on-chain. Backed by smart wallet tech and live across major L2s, Red Packets turned communities into microeconomies of gratitude and growth. No seed phrases, no friction, just connection with value. Check it out at pulse.social. So you have advocated for decentralized coordination as a pathway to ensuring privacy. How does this work practically for end users and organizations looking to adopt models like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so privacy, what is on public chains, depends on anonymity set. An anonymity set is number of assets inside smart contract that provides privacy for every incremental user who joins the set. And just to describe in more simple way, you come, let's say we have 10 users, 10 million worth of smart contract, right? If you come with 100 million now, and then you do like Uniswap swap, like you swap from USDC to ETH, there will be no anonymity or privacy for you because you, like everyone will looking at smart contract will recognize that there's this depositor probably did the same transaction, right? Even though what appears on chain is our smart contract. So that's why this coordination is important. So we have to make sure that there are enough incentives for every newcomer to participate, and there's sufficient anonymity set for that. But then for this anonymity set, right, the system allows to build it, but also participate in the routing of transactions. So every user can become a relayer and participate, stake our future tokens. We don't have tokens yet, and be able to route this transaction on external dApps. So they participate in the upside, aggregate these tokens, right? But then they also have incentives to be private because of these tokens and the benefits they receive. So that's a coordination layer that we describe about privacy and network effects that it brings, right? So every new user benefits more from the smart contract that they joined.
Right. That makes sense. So we're seeing an increase in the amount of phishing attacks and data leaks that are happening, I would say even just in 2025. Do you think that the crypto ecosystem is prepared for mass adoption? And are there still major security hurdles that we need to overcome to really prepare those new users to use crypto?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily only crypto, because I think the problem with crypto is we have lots of people who got quite rich, and this money is sitting in their wallets. It's quite anonymized because there's very hard to touch their names, but then it's actually easy to figure out who are these people based on the history of their interactions with DeFi, right? For example, if you were early in Curve, right, during the inception of the dApp, and you were a contributor, you could figure out during token generation event how much this person would receive, right? And then there's assumption that he stores this money somewhere in the wallet, right? So, and then bad actors actually go after these people, and this is a hard, this is quite a big problem, right, to solve, because it's fully public. Everyone knows this information now, and there are criminals going after them, right? So, and we saw with this happening with lots of different crypto founders, right? Mostly, including Ledger co-founder. I think he had a problem, right, with criminals in France. And this can, but I don't think this is a major problem. The major problem is AI now, because AI can do deepfakes. And
yes, getting better every day.
And we saw these few problems happening with also crypto investors, with Zoom calls when they share the.
Yes, we're very. I'm definitely very wary of any links that come my way, but it's frustrating when you're I'm just trying to have a business call, or you think you're going on a business call, and here you are now, like watching your wallet drain. So, yeah, I think that there are a lot of just new attacks. Same kind of technology, but different pretenses. So I'm seeing lots of people who are deep into crypto. I've been in crypto for 10 years, and they're getting hacked too. So it's not even necessarily a lack of awareness or like being new to the space. It's like just this constant bombardment of attacks.
I think it's lack of best practices of security because, if you're in crypto for 10 years and never get hacked, you might be lucky, right?
You're a unicorn.
You're in the lucky 95%, but it's still a huge amount of people. And then, you don't separate two machines like where you store hot wallet from the ones that you take calls, right? So you might not even have 2FA, right, for some of your solutions. So I don't think this necessarily means that most of crypto people are very security conscious, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, we need to get more paranoid of of our interactions online. So if user privacy becomes the default, it becomes the norm, how do you see this reshaping the broader financial ecosystem, both in and outside of crypto?
So crypto privacy and with private wallets can really become the entry point for lots of people now. Because, if you can enter crypto in a fully private manner where no one can see you, no one can really attach label to you, this becomes a no-brainer solution. And now the question is, how could it become no-brainer solution? And I mean, it all depends on user experience. If you have same experience as you do during on-ramp or adding assets to your wallets, this is the most beautiful solution for you to use. So this can enable new users to join, such as institutions moving assets on chain and avoid problems such as dusting, right? It's for example, when Franklin tokenized lots of funds, right? That's a big problem that they had, like a lot of shit tokens just coming to their wallets and smart contract itself, right? A lot of neo institutional enterprise players can join. So finally, you can move money and send to your friends, your employees, without them seeing your on-chain data. And I think the future of this is actually solving the problem of omnibus accounts, right? Because these payment systems need these better solutions, right? So they can also aggregate these funds, but add some yield to it. But now, in isolation of these funds, they cannot attach any yield generative solutions.
Sounds like a win-win to me. More security and yield. I mean, yes. So how do you think that enterprises can prepare to integrate privacy wallets into their operations without disrupting their existing workflows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the first question that we should answer is, what are their workflows? And their workflows are very new. Right, so that's what they're adopting right now. I don't think there's an enterprise that is doing on-chain transactions for the past 7 years, right? Probably some employees, right, and team members there, but not on a mass scale.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, it's very new stock. Some of them do, fire blocks for wallet creation. Then they do, bridge for on-ramps. And then they tokenize funds through Securitize, right? Or they go to their competitors. So the market is quite fragmented, and there are no leaders in this space, but all these solutions work in a similar manner. So in our case, I think the biggest problem here is bringing just a bit new primitive to them, right? Because these users are by default the most skeptical users about new tech. Right, like the banks. Why the banks are the worst B2B customers for every startup? Because
Literally.
it's close to impossible, right, to have a business with them. Like, it takes years.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of current moment is that we have this new playbook that actually ChatGPT showed to the world, and it's called, it's like PLG V2. So PLG is product-led growth, right? When think about Notion, Slack, got users, employees just use the solution. They realize how beautiful is the solution. Then they go upstream and upsell to the enterprise level, right? What ChatGPT introduced is a bit different playbook, which is you go to consumer, you show the value, everyone loves the product, and after that, they start selling developers to developers through APIs. Right, same applies to the best crypto solutions, right? You have to start first with showing the real value, and preferably based on consumer traction.
Right.
Then you can go upstream to institutions, enterprises, and show the solution on the development side, right, with APIs, SDKs, so you can enable privacy in a programmatic way. So that's what we are actually doing now. We are releasing like browser extension that feels like the best wallets and extensions there. And then we also have developer documentation.
It's very grassroots. It's like building the demand first and then moving up. That makes a lot of sense. Because why create a complex solution when nobody's asking for it? It's going to be very hard to sell, right? So we've talked a little bit about crypto privacy best practices. I was wondering if you had any like tips or advice that you can give to our more intermediate advanced crypto users.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for intermediate advanced, I think the biggest ones now is that they can finally trust ZK, and ZK has become the efficient solution, right? That especially coupled with some other solutions such as DEs, MPCs, there are some advancement there with snark systems, also Stark systems as well. So I think like using hardware wallets also became more secure. So I think the next big thing that we will be enabling is using hardware wallets for proof generation. And you have the whole stack that belongs to you. You have proof generation on hardware wallet and signatures as well, right? You have full privacy of your data. You privately move assets on chain. And then you never need to off-ramp because you can pay in stable coins for everything, right? And that's a perfect world that I hopefully will happen soon, but it usually takes time. But starting early and moving assets on chain is, I think, the first tip that will help you to get to the best primitives. And I think what I'm also excited now is crypto cards.
Yes.
Crypto cards became so phenomenal because I am the heavy user, and before being US person, I didn't believe that crypto cards will provide significant value to me because I already have exposure to stable coins and I don't have devaluation of my local currency. But then I realized that in crypto you can build so many primitives and wrap the asset in stablecoin that provides underlying yield worth of 10-11%. So and then cashback. So now I'm having 11% on my current account with 3% cashback. So I spend all my money in crypto on a daily basis with my MasterCard. So this is phenomenal. So I think, and most of people don't know it yet that they can do it. So I think this is pulling lots of retail people to crypto, right? Because this is unavoidable. Now we will have always higher yield in crypto cards versus traditional banking.
Well, especially when traditional banking is like, here's 0.1%, you're welcome. It's like, what? That's not even beating inflation, So I think just the fact that so many crypto products are creating this yield, it's just going to be more attractive to everyday users, to investors, of all shapes and sizes. So, well, this has been wonderful. Can you tell our audience where they can find you and where they can learn more about Hinkal and all of the privacy solutions that you've been discussing with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter, Georgi Koreli, Gegels, Hinkal protocol, but it's now Hinkal. And like we also use other solutions. We are big on LinkedIn as well because LinkedIn, a lot of institutions are there. And that's awesome. Thanks for having me. It was an amazing conversation.
Thanks so much for coming in. And we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And join us next Friday when we'll be talking to Diane Magents and Breno Sperandio from Biconomy about how cryptocurrency exchanges can streamline and enhance user experiences in DeFi. But until then, stay tuned, stay informed, stay defiant.